Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Roundtable, coming to you live from Beijing. I'm your host, He Yang. Good as always to have you join us. Dragon Boat Festival, or Duanwu Festival, is celebrated throughout the country on June the 14th this year. On this public holiday, what are you doing? We are here working, but what are you doing is what we're interested in knowing. Also on the menu, we are on a mission of starting your week with a motivational kick. Don't miss out on our most inspirational segment, Motivational Monday. And we're going to go easy on you today because we know you're probably at home or somewhere fun, doing fun things. And you don't need to, be nudged too much into work mode, and we hope you have a great experience and a great time listening to the show. For today's show, I am joined by Huang Shan and Tony Reed. First on today's roundtable, June the 14th marks this year's Dragon Boat Festival, also known as Duanwu Festival in China. It comes on the fifth day of the fifth month on the Chinese lunar calendar. Traditionally, Chinese people race dragon boats, wear perfumed sachets, and even recite poetry to celebrate the festival. Last but not least, have zongzi, the delicacy exclusively associated with the holiday. We can't talk about the origin of the festival without mentioning Qu-yuan. So let's go a bit deeper into his story and how come this festival is still a very important holiday for Chinese people today.
Yeah, actually there are a number of stories tell about the origin of this festival, but the version of Qu-yuan, or the story of Qu-yuan, is the most respectable and the most popular one. So Qu-yuan was born in the Warring States period, when 7 main states struggled for dominance by territorial expansion, and the southern state of Chu was Qu-yuan's home. Many people know Qu-yuan as a celebrated poet who wrote the poem titled Li Sao, literally translated into Encountering Sorrow. And the poem is a part of the Chuci, a compendium of ancient Chinese poetry from the southern state of Chu. And he's regarded as the founder of Chinese Romanticism. And moreover, he was also a minister of the state of Chu and was trusted by the king. And Qu-yuan had political aspirations, and he advocated reforms and had put some of his ideas into practice. He had proposed a strategic alliance with the state of Qi in order to fend off the state of Qin, and which he believed was a threat. However, his idea of reform ran contrary to the interest of nobles who later framed him, thereby leading to his exile and abolishing of the reform. Very unfortunately, his conjecture about the state of Qin turned out to be true, and the state of Qin defeated Chu in 278 BC, and the king of Chu surrendered. And Qu-yuan wanted to go back to his home state, but his wish never came true. And soaking in despair, he drowned himself in the Milor River in Hunan province on the 5th day of the 5th lunar month that year. And Chu had many supporters and was deeply respected by the locals, and who made waves with their boat paddles in the river to drive the fish away and fed the fish zongzi, the rice wrapped in leaves, so that they won't feed on Qu-yuan's body. And this is one of the most popular and famous story about the origin of this festival.
Wow.
Quite intense a story, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I remember hearing that, and I was just like, so they're racing the boats, and I guess that's where the boats come in, because they're quickly racing their boats out there to, I guess, to collect his body right before the fish eat it. So that was an actual interesting angle for the story. And then the rice was put into the water to stop the fish from eating the body as well, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was just like, wow. And now when I see these boats, I have a story to go with it. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and also Qu-yuan's masterpiece Li Sao, even till today, although it's written in ancient Chinese, so it's not that easy to recite for modern people, but it's been treated as a very invaluable piece of literary work. And it's just fascinating when you read the words. It rhymes and resonates in such a profound way. And every time when we get to read these historical texts that originally was written hundreds or more than 1,000 years ago, then it strikes a chord with me, because I think it's just really magical to have that connection with your predecessors hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. And yeah, that's through literary texts or through doing all these kinds of fun activities. And one is the dragon boat race.
Yeah.
This year, well, actually, this is the second year that we're celebrating this festival amid COVID-19 still lurking in the background. How is it different this year as people plan what to do on this public holiday?
Yeah, because I think this year is way much better than last year, I would say. And in many places, we have seen the really strict prevention measures are taking place in the cities or in the regions. And we have seen like the online trip reservations have experienced actually the online and travel agency platforms, and they have seen a surge in the tour reservations. And for many places, people would like to go on a short distance tour, but I would say in other places which have seen the resurgence of COVID-19 cases, and these places have taken the really strict prevention measures and encourage people from the high-risk areas to stay put. And also some indoor and outdoor sections of the venues have been closed and temporarily until the situation is getting better. And I think this year we are still encouraging people to not have a big gathering in the public space, but I think travel is definitely possible for many people from the country. And we have seen because this public holiday has 3 days, and compared to the May Day holiday, which has 5 days, and people tend to embark on a journey that is relatively shorter in terms of the distance. So they will like to book in terms of the transportation they choose, it seems like they prefer high-speed rails or just drive on their own cars instead of taking a flight. So this year, during the Duanwu festival, it seems like the air ticket price just drops because there are fewer people choosing to fly to the destinations that want to travel to. But definitely more people are taking the short distance tours during this period of time.
Yeah. From what I've read, it was looking like 100 million people are looking to travel for this Duanwu festival. So I think a lot of people are looking to get out of the house and go explore something. For me personally, I just recently got off vacation and I wanted to go somewhere that was, I couldn't leave Beijing at this time, but I went to at the Gubei water town, and that was kind of nice. But there was a stark difference. There was the day that I went there, which was during a weekday when everyone was working and it was really empty, and it was, a special experience. But I think for this holiday, since it's a 3-day holiday and a lot of people are traveling, there's going to be a lot of people out there. And so for that, because of that, I think I'm just going to kind of kick back and relax. Obviously I have to work, but if I wasn't working, I probably would have just hang back at home because, there's going to be a big travel rush.
Yeah, 100 million trips are expected to happen during this 3-day holiday. When you think about it, it's actually only 1-day public holiday, and then, added on to the 2-day weekend that you are entitled to have anyway. So then it's a long weekend, and I betcha today, which is Monday, as we get off work, the rush hour would be extra severe because so many people would be coming back to Beijing and by car, and therefore, Yeah, I'm expecting a traffic jam later on in the day for sure.
It almost doesn't feel like a vacation because you're probably spending a lot of time to go somewhere, to get from point A to point B, and then you have to go back from point B to point A. And if it's really congested both ways, you're really only getting like one day to like relax. So I think you have to be really determined to get out there and go and see some place that's out of your home,
But that's the reason why short distance trips are popular, because with the help and the facilitation of high-speed rails, you can just arrive at a different city, which is kind of like a neighboring your own city,
Right.
in half an hour or in just 1 hour. It's just like taking the subway from the east to the west side of Beijing, which is basically just like that. And because this time the Duanwu Festival is also coincides with probably the finals of many students, and also a batch of students have just finished their gaokao, their college entrance examination, and probably they're not in a mood and to travel to other places. They probably just stay put, and they're waiting for the big celebration during the summer break, which is just around the corner. So this time we have seen people, either they choose a staycation like us, although we are just working now, and some other people, they probably will just travel to a neighboring city. And now we have the economic zones, and which combines or integrate different cities in the same economic zone. So with the help of the high-speed rail, I think it's quite convenient to travel to these cities, which is just around like where you are.
Definitely. And we've been doing this for quite some time, living with this pandemic and also moving so many things online, whatever can be done digitally. We've pretty much figured out a way. And, we're also going to talk about that in our second topic today. Yeah, so some people are visiting the real museums and other cultural sites, and some people are staying at home, just going online to have a look around digitally.
And some people are packing on the calories too, right? There's this treat that's really popular called, forgive me if I mispronounce it, zongzi.
Oh, right? We're getting to that part already? All right, let's talk about the culinary delicacy of the Dragon Boat Festival.
Because
zongzi.
I'm offered these treats, and of course, at first I'm like, okay, zongzi, which one is that? Because there's so many festivals and so many different treats that are eaten on different days, and so I get it, and it's this wrapped. It's rice on the inside, and sometimes it's just a surprise because you don't know if it's going to be salty or if it's going to be sweet. Normally, the ones that I get are sweet, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I guess depending on which part of the country, it has a different flavor, right?
This is an annual battle between the sweet and the salty ones, because people in the north parts, and I think we prefer to have a zongzi with sweetened bean paste or just or dates, I think, inside. But for people from the south, they prefer the savory, and which means they like to put like fresh meat or egg yolk into the zongzi. So, this is the annual battle between the north and the south, and it also happens to the mooncake. So when it comes to the flavor of the mooncake,
and the tangyuan too.
Oh yes,
yeah, glutinous rice balls.
Wait, you said mooncake. That's a different festival, right?
Yeah, that's for the mooncake festival.
Yeah.
Right.
With this particular festival, though, the zongzi often come in a pyramid shape and wrapped with these, is it called reed or bamboo leaves? And I've heard from a good friend, okay, basically like me, given up. And so when he was a little boy, he used to make this with his parents and grandparents at home. And that dude, he grew up, in my opinion, in the luxury of having these fresh leaves delivered to his town, I suppose. And then, you can actually have this like family activity of making this thing on your own. And
just a quick question about the leaves. We don't eat them, right?
You're not
No.
supposed to eat them.
Okay. Just making sure.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. I don't think you can digest it.
Okay, so it's kind of like decoration, or gives it a certain flavor?
Yeah. Flavor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got
so
it.
there's definitely the functionality, which is keeping the rice and all the tasty ingredients together. But also, like, the fresh leaves are supposed to give that extra fragrance to it. And according to my friend, basically Lai Ming, he said that when he used to have it in his hometown, it's got this amazing scent to it. So even though the ingredients were pretty plain compared to what you get these days in big cities, but it's all natural. Oh, Tony, you're a big sucker for natural food, right?
Yes, I am.
This is super organic because
it's really nice.
Yeah, the cooking method of zongzi is that you need to steam it. And by steaming the leaves, and it can release its fragrance, and the glutinous rice can absorb all the aroma and fragrance released by the green leaves.
Oh, you're supposed to steam it. Well, in my household,
is it?
I don't know. We just boil it.
Oh, yeah.
If you steam it, it might take much longer, I would think.
Yeah.
But I think
all the
in theory,
documentaries I watch, they steam it, but like in the traditional cooking method or philosophy. But nowadays, living in the city,
steaming
we
is
just
more
water boil
glamorous,
it.
right?
Yeah.
You steam something, the color comes out very vibrant, and so I mean, it looks good for the camera if something's steamed.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I think in theory it would work, but it just might take a little bit longer. And for those of us who are just so eager to have this thing on the dinner table, and then we just use hot water to boil it, and but it's really nice, especially these days. I think the vendors, the manufacturers, they're really becoming they're very creative to start with, to come up with like really tasty new ingredients to shovel into the thing, and also the richer the ingredients that go in the thing, actually they can charge you far more, and so it works that way too. Like there are these. Last night I had some the zongzi with黑猪肉, so like organic pork. And then, Tony, here's the key. You can't just have the lean bits. You got to put in the fat too.
Oh man.
with the skin as well, it
Oh
has to be
man.
the whole
Fat and skin, huh?
and you might be thinking, oh, there must be like hair on the skin, but that's
Ew.
all clean. So it's no hair.
Wow, that
no
just
hair.
killed whatever appetite I had.
Okay, He Yang, bad idea in mentioning the hair. So the hair is all gone, all right, and then it's this really top-notch organic farm pork, and truffles go in there, and sometimes they put in chestnuts as well, and there are a whole bunch of different
Lots of options there.
flavors. But the key is, because glutinous rice takes in a lot of fat, and then it's the fat, the lard, that makes it really delicious. And therefore, Tony, I know you don't like the fat, but it's important to have that thing in there. That is what does the magic.
Well, speaking of natural herbs and stuff, there's also, and I think you guys mentioned it earlier, those perfume pouches. I've been getting a lot of these as little gifts, and for the first few years of being here, I didn't really know what it was. I was just like, oh, thank you, and I look at it and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, but okay. And sometimes it has a design on the pouch, but I guess on the inside there's something called wormwood. And I guess this is or some type of herb that dispels maybe insects, or can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I mean, when I get them, it would just be nice to know what they actually do for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, basically the bug repellent. That's
Okay.
I think originally that was the primary purpose, but also it became a nice decoration, I think, for
and also
this part
for
of
the
period
like
of
the
time.
significance, there's a meaning attached to each pouch, because people believe by wearing that thing, it can help you to ward off all the evil spirits and drive away, of the
aka
ill-
mosquitoes. I mean, would that help? I mean, because if it could ward off mosquitoes, then I would like to get a shirt shirt made of one of these sachets because
Yeah.
they just love me, especially this season. Now things are getting warmer and the mosquitoes are out. I can hear them buzzing by my window. Yeah, if these sachets work for that, that would be awesome.
Interesting, like when I was doing an interview in Yunnan province in the Jianchuan county of Dalibai autonomous prefecture, and I learned a very local and special type of perfume pouch, and they called it the buza.
Buza.
Buza, yeah. So it's a traditional handicraft of the Bai ethnic group, and that is often associated with mystic beliefs, and also it has gained new prominence by changing with the times. So every time, based on the traditions, whenever it's during the Duanwu festival or the Dragon Boat festival, so children in the town, they will wear a string of buza on their chests as the talismans and to protect them from the so-called evil spirits. And usually a string of buza consists of 3 to 8 trinkets, including a monkey and embroidery ball and also 8 diagrams. So the symbol used in Taoist the philosophy.
I think I've seen this before. Is it red? Is it a red string or is it...
Yeah, you can choose which color you want, but the more important thing is the buza itself. It's just a decorative item or ornament, and they only put it on the kids around their chest and necks and during the Dragon Boat festival. But nowadays, before, they just put the wormwood inside. That's for the auspicious significance.
Okay.
But nowadays, they also made some renovation and also innovation into the design of the buza, because they will also add lavender in there.
So lavender smells pretty good.
Yeah, because the lavender, the herb, it lasts longer compared to the wormwood. So they also keep up with the time, right? In order to create this kind of intangible cultural heritage, which is more accepted by the younger generation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this holiday, it was listed by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage in 2009. So that's, I guess, internationally certified in that sense. And also, as we were sort of digging deeper into the different ways of celebrating, or traditional ways of celebrating this holiday, I came across a particular wine, the Realgar wine.
Realgar wine, okay.
And in Chinese it's called 雄黄酒. And there's this popular TV drama when we were kids, for those born in the later part of 1980.
Based on the folklore.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it had something to do with drinking this wine can repel snake spirits or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that was
Okay.
like a fairy tale, like folklore. And
Snake spirits. Are these people who are snakely, or are they just actual snakes, or?
There was a lady. She's really pretty, beautiful, and elegant.
she's a white snake.
She's a white snake,
Okay.
and she could transform into a human being.
Okay, so this is mythology. Okay,
Yeah.
so all right, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, that's why we said folklore. Yeah, and
Her husband.
yeah, she turned into
This
a
white snake got married to somebody?
Yeah.
she decided,
Poor guy.
rather like the Little Mermaid in a way. She decided to turn into a human being in daytime so she could marry the love of her life. But with the 雄黄酒, she would sort of lose her ability
It's like
to
the holy water, huh? You just sprinkle it on her and it destroys her, or what?
yeah,
No.
something like that.
Yeah, she cannot hide her true identity anymore with a drop of the 雄黄酒.
Right, so
Well, there's some realism to that, Sometimes when you drink, the person that you're hiding actually comes out,
yeah, you show your true colors. Or 雄黄酒, apparently, so Realgar wine, it can be used sort of to fend off mosquitoes and insects
man,
again.
why'd you tell me that? Unfortunately, I don't drink anymore. But if if I did, that would be pretty awesome to stock up on because, yeah, those mosquitoes, I think it's my blood type. They just love biting me.
Well, I know who to take around in summertime outdoors now. We'll be back after this break.
Informed opinion and heated debate. Find out what's got China talking and join us for your roundtable discussion.
You're listening to Roundtable with myself, He Yang, joined by Tony Reed and Huang Shen. Coming up, it's a pressing question that has yet to be answered. Once the pandemic passes, what will the return to work look like around the world? In the US, some companies are entertaining the idea of incorporating holograms. That's 全息投影. In the post-pandemic workplace, will they have the appeal necessary to drive employees back to the office? Or have companies taken this virtual meeting software a bit too far? And our special segment, Motivational Monday, coming your way. That's when we give you that adrenaline shot, but in a slightly lesser dosage today for the start of the week. Our podcast listeners can find us at Roundtable China on Apple Podcast. Leave us a message. Let us know what you think about the show. 5-star reviews preferred. Otherwise is all right. Just say what you need to say, but preferably be a little bit gentler if you can. And those reviews will help other folks to find the show and, of course, give us a good idea of what you think about our performance. And another way to get in contact with us is to send us a voice message or a voice memo to aezfmmeldingcloudcomrssprogram12694150. We've had a few new messages coming in.
Right.
Some of them ask us a question, which is great. Basically, we air your audio first and then answer the question on the live show. Or some of you have decided just to record a voice memo and tell us what you think about us. And that's fine too. Thank you for participating and following the show. And now on Roundtable, as we continue today's discussion. In the US, some tech companies have said people can continue to work from home indefinitely. Surveys suggested that most others are contemplating hybrid workspaces where staffers rotate between working remotely and coming into the office. The possible post-coronavirus situation has some companies envisioning a future in which people can collaborate in more interactive and engaging ways, whether they're on-site or at home. One novel approach is to use 3D holograms, or 全息投影. Hologram is a technique which enables a wave front, normally called the reference beam, to be recorded and later reconstructed. Hologram is best known as a method of generating three-dimensional images, but is also used in a wide range of other applications. So the last time I've checked holograms was in 2014 when it was during the Billboard Music Awards. A Michael Jackson hologram performance was put on, and that was 5 years since the death of the King of Pop. And so now we're talking about incorporating this kind of technique in the everyday office in the U.S. What is going on, Tony?
Well, it seems like quite a few startups are getting involved in this notion. Alphabet Inc.'s Google last May revealed Project Starline, which is an effort to create a video chat system with screens that give participants three-dimensional depth. WeWork recently announced a partnership with ARHT Media Incorporated, and this will bring holograms to about 100 of their buildings in 16 locations around the world, starting with New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. Microsoft is also getting involved, and they created something called Microsoft Mesh, which integrates three-dimensional images of people and content into compatible displays of smart glasses or other devices. So this company, this Canada-based company, ARHT's, using a 3D display system that beams presenters into meetings and conferences, which I don't know, makes me smile a little bit because I watched a little bit of Star Trek growing up, and they would always beam each other into different locations. So I'm really interested in what is in store for a lot of these companies. And the reason why this is even being considered, I mean, according to the Washington Post, companies say that holograms and related technology will soon be commonplace in conferences all over the world. And 3D representations improve on traditional phone and video calls because they make it easier to read body language and also feel more personal. And apparently there's this Zoom fatigue that's going on where people just feel like they've been on a screen all day long, and it's pretty exhausting. So they're kind of looking for another way to, I guess, get, just to be able to communicate a little bit better. And they also mentioned, backers mentioned that holograms and avatars enable a new style of communication where you can have better and more frequent interactions. So this is just a direction that a lot of these companies are going. I feel like there's a little undertone here. Just externally looking at this, there is a lot of people who are reluctant to come back to the office. And so this is a bit of a draw. This is an allure, something that's exciting. And it's a way to, I guess, for employers to, facilitate this hybrid office environment where people can still be at home, but they're still at work at the same time, which is kind of interesting. Personally, I think it's splendid. I think this is really, really, really cool.
Right.
I mean, sign me up. I mean, if this gets me out of chairing some useless meetings, then I'm all for it. I mean, okay, how many times have you gone to a meeting where you didn't utter a single word and you were just there in spirit, right? And you're just sitting there and you don't say anything and the
You're
meeting
there
is
in
over.
body, but your spirit is elsewhere.
Exactly. So your body's there, but you don't really, have anything to contribute. And it's just something. And then when it's done, you sometimes say, well, that was a legendary waste of my time. So why not be able to have an image of yourself where you can just be beamed into that meeting and you can be there and you could, have a pre-scripted response? Because, I mean, sometimes what your boss may ask you at the meeting and you can just prepare a response, scratch your forehead a little bit and, slouch in your chair or sit up straight, whatever you want to do, you can prescribe that for the meeting and that would be it. I mean, I think that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, Huangshan, do you think it's going to be as awesome as what Tony has just very persuasively told, definitely the bright side of this hologram at workplace?
My first question is how much it costs for this amazing
The
technology.
money, huh?
Just by hearing the term of hologram, I know it won't be that cheap. It's not affordable for everyone like you, like me. And who will finance or sponsor the expense of installing this hologram device related devices in your laptop or in your room or in the office, in the meeting room? This is only visible for these, maybe the top 500, and also the international companies and who are really generous in installing such devices and applying such technologies to give the employees the feeling of a hybrid working schedule. And the next question is that based on my understanding of hologram, it's always pre-recorded. It's not live. But when you're having a meeting, you do need some spontaneous responses, from the people who are attending this meeting. But if the hologram is pre-recorded, how you can get that feeling of it's a timely, meeting, that people are actually attending the meeting like the physical form. And I feel sorry for the person who's hosting the meeting in the office. Because, in terms of 3D holograms, the logic there is that it's an object that isn't actually there, but looks like it is. They are either floating in midair or just standing on a nearby surface.
Floating in
midair.
midair.
There has to be a person, a physical person, who physically sitting in the meeting room and then to host the whole procedure. And then that person is witnessing all the phantoms going on in
Phantom is a good word here.
Yeah, like it's weird. It's such a creepy scene.
Okay, Tony, actually, I do have a question along with what Huang Shen asked here, and I'm anticipating amazing answers from you.
Okay.
So yeah, Huang Shen, you mentioned that usually with the holograms, like with the 2014 MJ hologram performance, it was all
pre-choreographed.
Yes, and it took the team half a year, more than $500,000, and just to put the footage, if I may use the word footage here, together so that this performance could happen back then. And now, like, if we're talking about having a meeting, then the meeting is about having spontaneous and real-time responses and exchange, right? So then with this hologram thing, is the hologram or this projected image going to be synchronized with the person who's away but whose image is being projected here? Is it going to be, the same? So if not, then this is not serving the purpose of the meeting. So is it synchronized is my question here.
Well, the report doesn't go into all of those details, but from the
what do you think, Tony?
Well, from the video that I watched on, I believe the company is the ARHT, they do collect some of your data, the way that you look, the way that you move your body, the way that you smile. So those details of the way the way you carry yourself is in the system. So when you do make certain responses, and that's another point that I'm not quite clear on, but I think that you should be able to respond as you would like a Zoom call or a Skype call or whatever to some of the responses. But if they have your data, then some of the movements that you would make, people would see that.
Yeah.
So that I guess that real-time experience is there. But I think depending on the data that you give these companies, I mean, if you just give them one posture where your arms are folded, then that's all that everyone's going to get at the meeting, which, I mean, so I think you have to, they have to sample a conversation from you where you will give a lot of different motions and movements. And so these holograms... So
that doesn't work for most people then. I know certainly as a little cog in the machine like me, I don't deserve that attention, and nor do I want my data to
I don't
be
think
stored
you should
in
say you don't deserve that amount of attention. Come on,
come
we
on.
all deserve this amount of attention.
Yeah,
I would love for them to have my
Data?
data, for them to, duplicate my presence, and if in case I can't make it, if I have to go to another part of the world, and the plane ticket, and obviously with this pandemic, it would just be a headache. So if they could just put my ghost over there, I mean, I think that I could just ghost the meeting. I mean, that would just be pretty awesome.
Okay, well, I know this is not happening yet, but if we take this a bit further, if this thing has, or this, let's call it a cloud brain or whatever it is, it collects your data and it collects like you and all these kind of movements and can project you in behaving in whatever way that those who get to control the cloud brain wants, then you could be projected like performing a crime, or it could be totally out of your control. Like you're essentially giving away your perceived action projected through this technology to another entity. And
That's possible.
I would be so scared. And so far, the reason why I mentioned the word deserve, well, self-deprecating humor, obviously, but still, those who deserve this kind of attention, that's MJ, Michael Jackson, king of pop, like after his death, his estate still generates billions of dollars every year.
People were still complaining about the hologram. I mean, it didn't do him justice, and you have controversy on that and who deserves it and this and that. But I think that
it's more, sorry, but it's more like, it's more about who's going to take the time and money to do this. And it's certainly not for me. I know. Maybe Pony Ma or Jack Ma, they've given enough public speeches and have had enough public appearances, and maybe it's easier to draw their data.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of, and I think that's why it's starting with a lot of these tech companies, because they have the money to do it. And I'm sure there will be individuals who will get this opportunity before others. But again, that's not something that has been explained yet. We don't know which employees are going to get this opportunity to have their hologram, but I think it's capable of so many things. I mean, I've read in 2015, actually, Japanese scientists have found a way to make these holograms actually interact with your skin, where you can actually feel something is in front of you and touching you in this type of thing. So, I mean, that's what they were able to do in 2015. And also in 2017, they have the Illinois Holocaust Museum, where you can actually talk to some of the images or the 13 Holocaust survivors, and they can speak on what has happened to them. And you can ask them any question and they'll respond to you.
But that's all. Their response must have been stored somewhere. It's not like these 13 people would give
they
you...
asked them 2,000 questions.
Right.
And so of those 2,000 questions, if you ask somewhere along these lines...
Within the range.
Within that range, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that.
All right. Fair point. But question here, how does this encourage anybody coming back to the office? Do you want to come back to the office so you could see colleagues in hologram form?
Okay, so I've seen a lot of movies where they employ these holograms, and personally, I think it's really cool. I mean, I see Tony Stark going through all these interfaces and grabbing this and grabbing that, touching this, and it's like, wow, that would be really cool if I was in a work environment where I could do this. And there was another one called Ghost in the Shell, where there was a meeting room of people, and none of them were there, and it was all hologram. So, I mean, that's something that, for your tech or your sci-fi nerds, that would be a really interesting allure to come back to the office. So for some people, if they can, again, have their data to where they can have an image of their self in the office and they don't have to go in, I mean, that sounds pretty attractive to me.
Yeah, the benefit of this technology I can think of is that it can reduce the frequency of unnecessary business trips, especially when you need to cross a country or cross the world. So in this way, you can definitely reduce the carbon footprints in order to protect our environment for sure. And I think this technology has been widely adopted in South Korea in the entertainment industry by these big companies, because they want to recreate the scenes of the top male or girl bands, and they can give that kind of immersive experience to the band's fans. You can get a really close contact and with your favorite idol, and they can further exploit the value
and maybe touch them as well, right?
But it just touch a beam of light, and you have to keep in distance in terms of watching their performances in the hologram version, because they're not real, but they're just trying to create the realm for you. Feel like you are in a real concert, because we know for the real concert there's a limitation of seats, and also probably it's too expensive. Some fans, they cannot afford a ticket for that concert. But in this way, you can get the closest contact with your beloved idol, and in this way you can get that atmosphere, that vibe, right? But I still think it's quite strange, because they're still not real. And also, I don't know the difference between hologram and also AR. I think if you can combine these two technologies together, the experience will be remarkable.
Right. So with the concert that you just mentioned, Huangshen, is it you still need to pay for the tickets to go to a venue and see the hologram, or you can just watch this thing at home?
No, you have to go to a designated venue. It's probably way smaller than a real stadium.
Right.
And also the price probably is just 1/10 or even 1/100 of the original price of a real concert.
Yeah, what a way to milk as much money off the fans, it feels. And just think about this. If this were something that could be massively produced and utilized, then that would mean this particular person, celebrity, singer, whoever, could have the so-called concert, the same concert at the same time in multiple locations
Yeah.
at one go.
Sounds like money to me.
Yeah, but how would you feel though as the fans? Like you paid to, and you also made the effort to go to a place that's not your home, and then you're still not seeing the real deal. You know?
Yeah, that's I think for your hardcore fans that may be really tough. But for me personally, I think that it would be kind of interesting. I mean, if the music is good and the hologram is good enough. I mean, I know it's not the real thing, but I mean, I think it would be, again, I think because this is a novel idea and it's something that is actually possible and and we're seeing it now in 3D, that it would be interesting, and I would like to, experience it. But I'm not sure that I would like it. You're never going to like it the same as having that person in front of you. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not. It could never replace a real human being in the flesh.
Well,
No, now we also have virtual idols, and one of the Chinese virtual idols, she held a concert in the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Shanghai, and thousands of fans just rush into the stadium to watch that hologram.
Hologram, huh?
But from the beginning, everybody knew that she's not a real person. But how would you feel if they were selling this Michael Jackson world tour when the King of Pop has passed away in 2009, and then and also this seems to be a possible trend in the future. Like now they're talking about possibly bringing Elvis back, bringing or also Cher, she's still alive and well, but with some of these mega stars when they're no longer with us anymore.
They did one with Tupac also. It was pretty interesting. A lot of people were freaking out. But I think when people have passed on, they could be a little bit complicated because I mean, who does the copyright belong to, and who gets the royalty? Who gets paid for this type of show? So I think it could be a little bit rough, and also the feelings of the fans. Obviously, that's something else that that would be a bit difficult when they have passed on. But when they're alive, I think if they're in on it, they agree, they consent to it, and the fans are aware, and they still want to spend their money to see a hologram, then I mean, by all means, I think that I wouldn't do it personally, but I mean, I could see how there may be some people that just want that experience to see the hologram and get a feel for it and feel like, wow, that was actually pretty awesome, or that was lame. So it's new, it's novel now, so I think some people are going to be attracted to it. So more people may want to come back to the office just so that they can have their own I mean, again, that's a pull for me. I would love to have my vision or ghost somewhere where I don't have to actually be there and work. It's pretty good to me.
Yeah. You're listening to Roundtable. Coming up next, Motivational Monday.
Motivational Mondays. Motivational Mondays.
So this week, let's start with Huangshan. What do you have for us to keep us motivated?
Yeah, because now many people are still on their holidays, so I choose a quote saying, "All journeys have secret destinations of which the traveler is unaware." And vacations, they are very important, and they are a chance to take a break from work and let us see the world and enjoy time with our family and friends. Everyone needs a vacation once in a while, as it helps us to relax, refresh, and recharge. So I want everyone who's having their holidays now and just take the full exploration in this journey, because no matter what your plan is when traveling, you will find other destinations. So quite simple to me, this quote says that there is always something unexpected to be found when traveling. And instead of digesting the guidebook, when you reach a new city, probably the first thing you need to do is just wander around and get lost in the city. With no fixed destination, you could find lots of hidden gems or secret destinations along the way. That's a charm of a trip.
Getting lost, oh man, that would drive me nuts. I don't know if that would but I mean, I get it. I get the sentiment, right? Just go go and be immersed in the experience. But I'm a planner, so that would drive me nuts.
Or just pull out your navigation app when you don't know where you're at, that kind of thing. Yeah, well, thank you very much, Huang Shen. That's a very timely inspiration for this day. And Tony Reed, what do you have for us?
Well, it is a holiday, so it's right along those lines. I got something on leisure, and it's two quotes. One is unknown or anonymous, and the other is from an individual named Ovid. And this, not COVID, but Ovid. All right. It's a Roman poet. All right. And so here goes the quote. In our leisure, we reveal what kind of people we really are. The problem is with leisure time is how to keep others from using yours. And I think, especially if you're a parent, if the time off that you have is, you love to spend with your kids, then I think it's a win-win with your kids, for your kids and for you. But for most parents, a lot of times they want some time to themselves and to really enjoy their me time. And I think that this is very pivotal for a lot of these holidays, whether it's playing a game or if it's reading a novel or, trying to get a certain number of steps, taking a stroll around the block or whatever. But finding that me time I think is really important because it gives you an opportunity to let that real self come out for a while. And for me, it's weird. It's like the times where I guess my real self comes out and I'm able to, dive into my mind and pull out something. It's when I'm working out, which for me is weird. It's my leisure time. It's when I'm working out and when I am in the shower. So I can think, and it's that moment. And I think sometimes with holidays, we get really caught up in travel and trying to go here and go there and do this and do that. We don't really have an opportunity to just zone into ourselves. So I'm just saying, find some you time.
Yeah. And I would say find your work and life balance. Balance is not better time management, but better boundary management. And balancing means making choices and enjoying those choices. Don't feel guilty for finding your little bit of me time because you deserve it. And the bad news is time flies. The good news is you are the pilot. So drive and fly that plane safe and do it well. You're listening to Roundtable, and that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you so much for your company. You can find us on Apple Podcast at Roundtable China. And if you have the time, feel free to send us a voice memo to aezfmmeldingcloudcomrssprogram12694150. We'll see you next time.
From the African savannah to the ancient Silk Road, we invite you to join us on the front lines to share stories that move the world. Get registered on cgtn.com and submit a video within 3 minutes giving us a self-introduction to prove your presentation skills, language ability, and news sense as a reporter, presenter, podcaster, or social media influencer. All in all, what we'd call a media challenger. Not only will you be eligible to win up to $10,000, but you'll also get a chance to receive professional multimedia training and be enlisted into the CGTN talent pool. And who knows, there's also the possibility of having your voice heard and felt worldwide. The registration has already begun. CGTN, the Media Challengers. Come and join us and make a difference.